Hello everyone, welcome back to Been There Done Chat. I'm here today with the lovely Nadeem. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm really well, thank you, Garima. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on. Nadeem is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, pianist, and I just wanted to talk to you today about your creative journey and how you got into it, the process, and plans for the future and all things like that. So just gonna talk
Oh
about
yeah.
your creative journey.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Before we do that, I think I should tell the people how we met.
Oh my god,
Very quick.
yes.
And so it was like at some ball or something,
The
some kind of
winter media ball thing at uni.
about a year ago now,
So
at the upstairs section of Brick House in Manchester.
I was
Yeah,
I was wasted. Do you remember? That was
I do
so
remember.
fun.
Well, what I remember is that you were like, "Man, I gotta run to the bathroom. Can you hold my drink?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I held your drink. I was like, "I'll be 2 minutes." So I
I
was like,
got a
"Okay,
telling
see ya."
off. I got a telling off when I went back home by my ex. And I was like, "How can you just ask a random person?" I was like, "No, he's so nice. Like,
I know.
thank
Well,
God
it
you're a
wasn't
lovely
even that.
person. That's very. Don't do that if you go on a night out. Oh my god."
I know. Oh, could you imagine? Yeah. Well, I remember I was holding it. You're like
I
two
know.
minutes. I was
I
like, oh
was
yeah,
gone for
okay.
so long, wasn't I? I feel
It
so
was like
bad.
2 minutes went by. I was like, that's all right. And then 5 minutes.
That's so rude.
And
Oh my god. But anyway, when we did meet,
yeah.
really wanted to get you on my show and just talk about your journey because I followed you on Instagram that night
hmm
and
hmm
I
Yeah.
was looking for your stuff. You've been on BBC BBC Introducing.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah, like you've done so much with performances and songwriting, and I really just want to talk about your journey. So obviously, like I mentioned before, you are a pianist, you play guitar, you sing and you songwrite. What kind of influenced you to get into each of those things? When did you begin? And yeah, just tell me the journey of how you got into them.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I wasn't really into music. I did piano lessons and stuff, but like I really didn't enjoy them for some reason. I think it
Mm.
was just way too many rules. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was too young at the time or I just something about it I just couldn't do. But then years later, my sister introduced me. Do you know the pianist composer Ludovico Einaudi?
Yes. I don't
Yeah,
know if I'm lying. I might do.
you'll know his stuff if you
Okay,
listen.
okay.
Yeah, I listened to his stuff, and that completely changed things. And for some reason, I just had to learn his music because he kind of writes pop music, but for
Mm.
like classically, he
I
writes classical music and
see.
minimalist music, but kind of like in a pop way.
That's really
Cool.
interesting that like a professional pianist motivated you rather than in a singing lesson where you're learning step by step.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I think, a really interesting route to go down it into getting into music. So after that, I just had to learn all of his pieces, not all of them, but I learned them just on YouTube, just from YouTube tutorials.
Oh, amazing.
And I couldn't read music, and I still can't. But
You
don't tell anyone.
really?
That's just a
No
secret.
way.
Yeah,
No
secret between you and
way.
I.
I
But
mean, if it makes you feel better, I got my grade one on the pass mark of guitar after about 8 years of playing. No, but look at you, like you're doing amazing. So what about like guitar then? Speaking of guitar.
yeah, so guitar jumped forward many years. Like I only played piano for ages and I didn't sing
Sorry, when did you
until
start piano? What was the age?
I started piano when I was in year six. So how old would you be
Okay,
in
so
year six?
baby, like
About like
10,
11?
11.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That sounds about right. So years later, when I was about in year eight, I remember the summer of year eight, I watched the film about Johnny Cash, Walk the Line, and there was the actor Joaquin Phoenix who played him. There was a bit where he was just playing guitar for the first time live on stage, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is amazing. I have to learn how to play guitar. That was just from
Oh,
watching the film and watching loads of Johnny Cash performances because the way he played the guitar, it wasn't necessarily difficult stuff, but the way he held the guitar, the way he walked around stage with the guitar and just
so
played it.
again, like from a professional.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
100%,
amazing.
100%. I didn't. There weren't too many real people in my life who were influencing me personally at that time. It was always
Mm.
from people who had, with careers behind them, like
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah,
Cash, who's
yeah.
dead by that time. Yeah, I mean, Johnny Cash died ages ago,
That's
but
so lovely.
yeah, yeah. So that's when I learned playing guitar. Then I began to sing.
Right, okay. So piano, then guitar, then singing.
Yeah,
What got you into singing? Was it Johnny Cash as well?
kind of. It was Johnny, and just listening to so many other songs before that. Like I finally, when I kind of learned, sat down and was able to then know that I could sing, I would play like Elton John at the piano, and I'd sing Elton John
Amazing.
stuff, and then Billy Joel stuff,
Of
and
course.
stuff like that.
Like legends, basically.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I didn't even think about songwriting until my dad kept. He was like, "You should write your own songs, write your own stuff,"
Oh,
And I was like, "Okay." I mean, I never really thought about it, and then it was after listening to not just Johnny Cash, but then I moved over to Bob Dylan,
okay,
and
I
I
see.
absolutely love Bob. Bob Dylan's
Yeah.
there. I don't know if you can.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
there's a poster. You can just see the side of him.
So he's definitely one of your big influences.
Yeah. And he just, I mean, I don't need to say.
Of
To preach
course,
how
of
good of a
course.
songwriter Bob Dylan was, you know.
Yeah. Were you brought up around that music as well? Like, what did your parents listen to growing up?
Well, my granddad really loved Johnny Cash, and that's why
Yes.
that's why I listened to Johnny Cash.
Oh.
And then that passed to my mum, and then I suppose a bit that passed to me. But
Yeah.
but then I heard Johnny Cash talking about Bob Dylan, and so that's how I kind of then swung to Bob Dylan.
Got you.
And then after that, I suppose it kind of went to Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
Because I love Bruce Springsteen stuff as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to have their, like, you know, Bruce Springsteen summer. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
And
of course, of
mine
course.
was like in 2017. Like that was like May 2017 was like when I peaked. I swear. It was like when I discovered Springsteen.
Don't say that you're peaking right now. The stuff you've been doing, you've been amazing.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't say that, should I? But yeah, so listening to artists like that really got me into songwriting.
Yeah, really good songs. It's the lyrics of those artists as well. You can just see the amount of
they were mainly
time.
they were mainly lyrically based. I didn't start to, because I was just doing really simple chords, and you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the songs were, obviously, now that I look back at the songs, I'm like, they're terrible, but it's because I just didn't stop. I just kept
Consistency
writing.
is key, isn't it? Always.
Yeah. It's like people say, you know, how do you write a good song?
Yeah.
You got to write 100 ones.
They do say that. Because I remember growing up as well, I talked about in like episode 4 about hobbies and things like that, and trying to find, you know, my passion and things growing up. So obviously I used to play guitar, and he used to always say, Garima, write songs, like write music. And first of all, I can't sing. Second of all, the idea of just, I know I never actually properly tried, but the idea of sitting down and actually writing a song was always just so like, how do people do this? And every time I listen to music, I'm just like, someone had to sit in the studio and actually write these lyrics. Like, it's crazy. It doesn't just come out of thin air. It's like creativity and craft behind it all. And I just find it so admirable. I can't, no, please, it's disgusting. Oh my.
With writing songs, what was so good about what was so good about writing what was so good about writing songs back then was because it was so new to me, and there was such a naivety about it. I just didn't stop, and I wasn't judging my own songs. I just thought, whereas now when I write a song, I'm like, oh my God, that is terrible, forget about that. And that's why I write less songs now than I did when I first started.
Do you do that because each song, like, you put more into it now? Or is it because do you think you're quite self-critical?
A bit of both.
A bit of both.
I do think I put, because back when I started writing songs, it was just me and the guitar and the piano and stuff. Now I've got like Logic, I've got the studio and stuff.
Yeah.
So the effort is certainly, I put in more now, but I also am very self-critical, and I suppose that's where writer's block comes from.
Yes.
You know, it's that not necessarily that you can't write anything, it's that everything you do write you just think is so bad, so you just don't write. It's really hard. It can get really hard sometimes, you know. And I've obviously, because I go to the Royal Northern College of Music on their pop course, and I'm surrounded by so many songwriters. Pretty much everyone around me is a songwriter, and everyone just has the same thing. So it's
sad, isn't it, though? Because with music, it's like individuality. It's like your own thing, and obviously, probably you got that as well because growing up, when you were doing your songwriting constantly, it was just for you at that time. You didn't have intentions of, you know, everyone's going to hear. So now probably it's a lot of overthinking because you know it's going to go out to the public and everything.
100%. Well, I literally couldn't put it better myself. Yeah.
And then obviously you're surrounded by all those artists as well, so you're constantly comparing, which is not nice as well.
Yeah, I'm actually, that's not as bad as you think, to be honest. I might get into that a bit later.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, there's because uni was a whole different kettle of fish. It's getting dropped into that instead of being that big fish in the little pond, you've then been thrown into that massive sea of other.
Were you at University of Manchester? You were, weren't you? Then you moved to RNCM.
No, I've always been in the RNCM. The reason why we met at that ball is because a friend of mine, Miriam.
Oh, so you were a +1. Oh, that's so good that you came. I'm so glad you came there.
Yeah. I wasn't really meant to be there, but
no, you were.
That was so funny because my friend Miriam Jarvis, who I don't know if you remember, but she's really talented. She recently actually just released a film
Oh,
that
amazing.
I was lucky enough to be in. So she's doing bits, I
Oh,
swear.
bless her.
But yeah, she
Amazing.
just sent me a message because she was going to do she was going to take a photo, do the photo shoot for my single Sunday
Oh,
night, the day after.
amazing. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So she was like, "Have you got a suit?" And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, I've got smart clothes. I mean, yeah, I can do that." And yeah, she's like, "Okay, come to this thing at Brick House." Like, okay.
Oh, so this was the night. This was the night.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm really happy about
amazing.
that.
Oh,
But yeah, that's kind of when I started writing songs when I was about in year 9.
year nine. So 14,
So
15 years old.
yeah, 14. Yeah, I think I was
Yeah.
about 14 actually. Yeah.
14, 13, 14.
Listening to Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. And then that just grew. The whole time I was doing like school performances, trying to build up a tolerance for playing live, dealing with
Amazing.
nerves and just how to talk to audiences.
No, that's really clever because that's you putting yourself out of your comfort zone to grow, which is very important.
Yeah, almost without knowing it. I just
Yeah.
thought this is just something I'm good at because
Oh.
I was never great at academics, maths and stuff. Poof, right straight over my head. But with something like music and drama,
Yeah, creative things basically.
literally just
Amazing.
creative stuff like that, I just found it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
I found drama a lot more enjoyable. I wouldn't necessarily say I was great at it, but I just found it really enjoyable. So I was
You
already
wanted to do more of it.
But then
Yeah.
music, I suppose I wasn't super bad at it. I could hold a tune and stuff. I
think you're really great. I think you're really great.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, obviously, it's like you said, you started performing in year 9 and writing all your songs and everything. I mean, can I just say, at that age as well, having such a prime, mature taste in music, like that's very admirable at that age. Because usually at that age, people don't, they're more into dance, but you properly like songs with lyrics. I know that's a bit controversial.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like a lot of Bob Dylan stuff, most of Bob Dylan stuff. Obviously, he's known for he's known as almost as a poet as opposed to a songwriter almost.
No, literally.
Like tunes like Mr. Tambourine Man. I used to try and write songs like Mr. Tambourine Man and The Times They Are Changing and all things like that, but I just couldn't do it. And at the time I was like, why can I not do this? Just took me a little while to realize I just had to find my own way of songwriting.
Yeah.
Which I later found out was more kind of early Bruno Mars' stuff. That's where I really found that I could
love Bruno Mars.
I could sit.
Yeah,
Bruno Mars. So yeah, it was kind of Bruce Springsteen, then kind of moved to who was it after Springsteen? Prince. That's who it was. It was Prince. Yeah. And then that's when I tried to learn as many instruments as I could.
Because he's a proper guitarist as well.
Yeah, he was. He was a proper guitarist, pianist, bassist, drummer.
Amazing.
He could literally do saxophone. He could literally do everything, as well as have an insane vocal range.
Crazy.
Yeah, and so I would always try and be like Prince, until I realized that the whole thing that Prince was trying to do and push on people was, as an artist, was find your own voice, be yourself. And so I just kept looking for that. And I think after that, I think it was Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember. But yeah, either way, it ended up as Bruno Mars. And that's when I really started to kind of think about it all together in the songwriting and the production, but all because then I started kind of like making my own songs in my own studio at that time as well. But then also performance. That's another massive thing. Yeah. Because Bruno Mars's performances are insane.
Very good. Really amazing stage presence.
Yeah, 100%. Like, the performances are just as powerful as the songs, and the songs are really powerful. Yeah. And the way Bruno Mars writes, which I admire and probably take from, is the fact that he can spend like 2 years writing a song.
He goes away in hiding, doesn't he?
Yeah. Just to make sure it's what he wants. Like, between this whole Silk Sonic stuff and 24 Karat Magic, it was like a 5-year gap,
isn't it? It's crazy.
And I hated him for it, but at the same time,
it was worth the wait.
Well, yeah, literally, you could tell that they worked really hard to get the whole brand of Silk Sonic ready.
For sure.
As he did with 24 Karat Magic, because there was a fair gap. There was about 4 years between an Orthodox Jukebox and 24 Karat Magic. And so just creating, because that's what it is realistically. It's not just the music, it's the brand. Yeah. People, that's what we get taught at uni. All my uni friends watching this, they'll be like, oh yeah, he's listening. Yeah. So
brand as in like your image as well as the kind of music you put out. I see.
100%, and how they go hand in hand,
Yeah.
And usually it's the brand that's more important because that's what people want as opposed to the
I
music.
see.
It's a clever bit of,
Yeah,
trickery.
yeah. No, for sure.
And that was around about the time just before lockdown, I think, the first lockdown. I was about maybe in year 12
Year
or
12.
13 or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when I started kind of doing the whole group. And that's when I kind of stopped focusing lyrically on songs and I kind of made the music as important, like melody, right? Because Bruno Mars' melodies,
Yeah.
especially in his earlier stuff. I mean, even now, but his melodies are the catchiest and the most wonderful there are,
Amazing.
as well as but he had really clever lyrics like Bob Dylan, but took a different approach and really made them super simple.
Yeah.
Just the way you are.
I was just about to say that. It's the lyrics are so simple but so amazing.
Literally,
I always think that when I listen to that. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. Like when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. Like how perfect is that?
It's so perfect. But the melody, is it the melody that makes it so unique? I don't know, because it's such simple lyrics, but such an amazing song.
Yeah, everything just helps. That's why it's people think, it's really simple just to kind of come out with something like that. But it's actually incredibly difficult, especially with all that production over the top.
Of course.
A world-class production. Then linking in with this whole branding. And at that time was like that whole kind of, in fact, it still is that whole kind of vintage sort of kind of poppy thing.
Yeah.
So really clever stuff. Obviously you'll have a whole team behind it, but one thing that DIY musicians like myself don't have, I'm not saying one's better than the other. I don't want to get into that. This is more about creativity, but really, honestly, really a talented individual, but also a really talented team.
Of course.
But honestly, all of his discography. We've been going on about Bruno for quite a while.
Honestly, I absolutely adore Bruno.
But it's that sound that really inspired my writing. Because a lot of his earlier songs, they really told stories.
So good.
Just like the most simple lyrics, but just told stories.
Literally.
In his tunes. So that's kind of what I still am trying to do with my songs. And then after Bruno Mars, probably The Weeknd, and that was since After Hours came out. Over lockdown. I even dressed as him last night. I went to a party. I went to my friend Bonnie's party. Literally, I went all out with it as well. The Plaster, and my housemate Mary.
I saw that. I saw that on your story, the Plaster, and I thought your nose was broken, but I saw it literally right before we were editing. So I was going to ask you about that. I forgot, and then I didn't see it.
Yeah. So do you still want to go ahead with this podcast? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had loads of people message me, be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just didn't get." And loads of people last night were like, because the theme was to go as an artist you love or an album cover, and I thought, oh, perfect, The Weeknd. So I went, but loads of people were like, Michael Jackson. It's like, no.
I'll just say, I am the biggest Michael Jackson fan. So the disrespect. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, well, Michael Jackson's in that list of influencers as well. Obviously, have you listened to the Thriller 40th anniversary yet?
Oh my god, it came out in HD, didn't it?
Yeah.
In HD. Oh,
well, in fact, my god. I think there was a 4K video of the music video as well.
Yes, there was. Sorry, 4K.
Yeah. As well as the massive like triple album. Yeah, there's a lot of gold in there, but there's a few little tracks in there that are like.
Wait, as in like new stuff?
There's some unreleased stuff. Yeah, from that era.
How did I not know this? Oh
yeah, get on it.
What? Oh my god, I'm writing this down. What the hell?
Yeah. If you take anything away from this podcast.
Sorry, as you were saying about The Weeknd.
Yeah, so that idea of, because I'd never been sort of in love with a concept album like that before, because that's exactly what it is. It's After Hours. It's probably one of the biggest concept albums. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there are loads of other concept albums out there, but probably in the mainstream. Yeah. That's probably the biggest out there. We're talking because everything just tells this weird and mental story that he wants to tell. With the bandages and the plastic surgery and the heads coming off. It's mental. Like God knows what his life has been like. God knows what's happened to him. But how everything aids to that. You have the music videos, obviously the album itself, all the promotion, the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Honestly, I could have gone last night to and been one of his extras in that Super Bowl
Imagine.
video. Yeah, honestly, that would have been great. I've obviously been aware of concept albums before, like Sergeant Pepper's by the Beatles and all that kind of
Mm,
stuff. But where the Weeknd then took that with the whole because he's been doing concept albums for a little while now,
yeah.
but not really on the scale of After Hours, and then he's
Mm,
taken that further with Dawn FM. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to say it's great because I'm a massive
of
fan of the Weeknd, but it
course.
might
No,
not
The Weeknd is
resonate
great,
with
of
you.
course. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I found it so interesting how he had people like Jim Carrey in his last in the album just gone playing the radio presenter. I just think
Yeah,
it's pure
I heard
genius
that.
to have a whole album like that as a radio show with Jim
That
Carrey.
is no, that is seriously genius. That is
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, and a little speech from Quincy Jones as well,
Quincy
as
Jones is
well as
amazing.
yeah,
Obviously,
and he
legend.
did all
Yeah,
all the Michael
Michael
Jackson stuff
stuff.
as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, you can't go wrong with Bit Quincy.
of
Um,
course.
but yeah, I suppose that storytelling was something that I knew I really wanted to use
Yeah,
and take from that inspiration. Obviously, his
yeah,
songs are bangers as well,
of
but
course.
his way of telling a story is probably the most valuable thing I get from him as an artist.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I see. So obviously that's what you get from the weekend. How would you sum up or how would you explain how you were able to get all your influences? So, Billy Joel, Johnny Cash, all of them, Bob Dylan, The Weeknd, Bruno Mars,
oh
and
yeah,
kind of combine all your influences together and create Nadeem and Nadeem's creativity in your music.
yeah. So it's basically like any other artist. They kind of cherry pick from every artist that they're inspired by. I love Ed Sheeran's early stuff as well. So I always try to take that kind of that in Ed Sheeran's early stuff he would have like really specific detail. Like
Mm,
what's that song? He's like, I know you love Shrek. I mean, watched it 12 times. What's it? I can't remember, but it goes something like that. And so I always try to kind of take that specific detail because
mm,
I thought because that really gives the listener like an exact uh thing to think about.
mm,
I wasn't going to be as specific as we watched Shrek 12 times, but maybe somewhere like in between something really broad.
mm.
Uh, uh, and so that's what I try and take from people like Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars did a similar thing, probably with stronger melodies.
Mm.
So I take the melodies from Bruno Mars and try and it's a bit difficult to do with The Weeknd in his sense of storytelling and
Yeah.
his whole kind of concept album thing. It's really
Mm,
quite hard at this stage for me as an artist to be as conceptual as him.
mm.
Uh, but that's something I definitely want to try and do and get into.
You will.
Um, I tried to do it with a single I released at the beginning of this year called Sunday Night. And
I
well, I
love
mean,
that
I
song.
did. Well, thank you so much. And I did do it to a degree. I wanted to make it like, and I did make it like a silent film. I wanted
Yeah.
the video to be like as a silent film. It just kind of became a bit too complicated, and I had to really then simplify it a bit. So that's why I made
Mm.
a lyric video that was in silent film placards,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. I really like.
which
I was
I
gonna say that one was very much like storytelling that you're talking about. And
yeah.
like I say simple lyrics but so effective. I really love Sunday Night. That's probably one of my favorites of yours.
Oh, really,
Yeah,
really?
I
That's
really
really,
like Sunday Night. It's such a nice song.
it's really, really nice. I, because of all the tracks I've released, I've asked a couple of people, what's your favorite? And actually, not
Mm.
many people say Sunday Night. I
Do
think
they
you're probably the only
not?
person who said
No
Sunday Night.
way. I love
Um,
it.
yeah. I had it was one of those songs that said everything I needed to say, and so
That's
creatively, it
amazing.
was I was satisfied.
Yeah.
Especially with doing all the promotion, trying to get that whole Charlie Chaplin thing. This poster right
Mm.
here, that's Charlie Chaplin. You can't
Is
see it. I
it?
can't move the thing. Yeah, but that's Charlie Chaplin right there.
Amazing.
Because he was a master filmmaker, and not many
Of
people know
course.
this. Composed all the music as well.
What?
And it's from I think about from the 20s, definitely the 20s.
Mm.
He composed all of his own,
Oh,
all
amazing. That's great.
orchestrated this massive, all these
Oh my
orchestras.
God. That's
So
talent to a next level. That's amazing.
yeah. So I again, a whole he was a storyteller as well.
Of
He kind
course.
of put the film first before the music.
Mm,
And I probably put the music first before any of the visuals.
mm.
But I was really trying to go do that to the fullest with Sunday Night. And so yeah, I just cherry picked from my favorite artists. I released a single, my first single I released, Mika, back in
Yeah,
2020
I like
during the
Mika.
first lockdown. which seems like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
But then again, only seems like last month.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's a really weird one.
Like
I
an
think COVID's
oxymoron
messed
of
up.
like long time ago, but also just yesterday.
I know. Gosh, COVID's been really weird for artists and the
Yes,
music,
I was gonna
the creative
say.
sector in general.
Yeah.
It's really gone in, and I didn't really realize it at the time because I
Mm,
just turned 18, so barely an adult. But
mm,
now, as I've kind of been in that scene a little bit more, I'm beginning to realize how much it actually affected
yeah.
creative sectors, well, and everything, of course. But I released that first track just because I'd never done it before. And that was a track I released. It was called Mika, and it was about a friend of mine. Um, and so everyone in the school, and that's why it actually did pretty well to begin with. And I got loads of people
Yeah.
messaging me when it came out, and it was on my birthday. So I had loads of happy birthday messages and then congratulation messages
Oh,
all at the
that's
same time.
amazing. That's
I
so
was like, I'm on
lovely.
top of the world. And it felt so
Oh,
wonderful. And all the love just for the track as well, because no,
yeah.
everyone seemed to be really liking the track. I still love it. It's still one of my favorite songs that I've written. Um,
Oh.
so and that was just to test the water a little bit with how to release music.
Hmm.
Because no one tells you how to do it. It's really hard trying to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but people do it, so I just thought, let me just. The only way to do it is to do it. So
Yeah.
I signed up to one of those online distributors, and away it went. And I had a friend of mine, Hassan, who did the artwork, who also did my most recent Queen in Disguise as well.
Oh,
So it was nice to
amazing.
reunite.
Amazing.
Who's a fantastic artist and graphic designer, all that kind
Oh.
of. So shout out to you, Hassan. Uh, um, and then I didn't do anything. Then I joined uni, and then I kind of learned the craft a little bit more, and then learned how difficult it really was to release music
I
and
was
to
gonna say, like, what kind of struggles did you have in terms of, like you said, releasing music? Any kind of struggles on your journey so far?
Yeah, so just being a creative person, trying to create something from nothing, whether it be a song or a film or whatever, it is hard. It is really
Mm,
really tricky, and just being, I can only speak really from being a songwriter or a musician, and to try and spend your years of craft learning the keyboard or whatever, writing songs, and then to try and package that up and be like, here's
mm,
a 3-minute song
yeah.
that kind of represents me. That's really tricky
Mm.
because no one tells you how to release music digitally. They have been at my uni. Sorry, I shouldn't be so. I started before I joined uni, so I had to kind of figure it out for
Yeah, yeah,
myself.
yeah.
But they've certainly helped. But you got to sign on to an online distributor. You got to sign up with royalty collecting agencies like PRS and PPL. And they make it so much more complicated than it needs to be.
Oh.
This is not me kind of protesting or anything. I'm just saying it just is the way it is, really.
Mm,
And how difficult it is. And then you've got to go and perform that music. You've got to go out somewhere, and then to get a gig where people come to see you is insanely difficult. Especially,
mm.
no one knows who you are. So maybe you try and
But
get like
soon
a function
come,
gig.
soon come. Yeah,
I shouldn't. I think just like with anything, no matter what you do, you just got to make those mistakes, and you
yeah,
just got to try things and do it the hard way, and get it wrong so many times that then you can just suddenly get it right.
of course.
And because of that, my next single wasn't until nearly 2 years after Mika, and I wanted it out straight away. I wanted these four because I had 4 tracks ready to go by the time I started second year, so over a year ago now.
Okay.
And one still isn't even released yet. So. And I was like, I want it all out as an EP as soon as I start second year. Boom, done. It's going to be the best.
Mm.
Then one of the artist development tutors at my uni were like, no, don't do that. Bad idea. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, no one's gonna know you. You're just gonna release this body of work, and then that'll be it. I was like, oh
Oh.
god, this is horrible.
Oh.
So I then did it all as singles.
Right.
And I think that really was the way to go, because I could literally just milk it.
Mm-hmm.
I could stretch out all this hard work that I put into these tracks. I could just
Mm.
stretch out for
Very
ages.
true. Yeah.
And I think that really was the correct way of going about it. So I had them released Sunday night back in February this year, which doesn't feel like that long ago at all. But it's nearly been a year now, which
Yeah.
is awful to think.
Crazy.
It's awful. It's terrible. But then again, that did everything I wanted it to do. It just got me back into the releasing game. It's a nice little
Yeah.
song. I like it. Wasn't played by many radio stations, but it got me back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
Then later releasing a track from my best friend Amir, called Drive Me Home, which, you know, these songs take ages to write, you know, and ages to you know, arrange and record, produce. So, you know, when Drive Me Home was finally done, I knew it just felt right, and it just felt
Yeah.
like my friend. It was almost like my best friend and me in a song.
Oh,
So
that's so lovely.
I know I'm wonderful, aren't I?
That is
God.
so lovely, honestly. Let's say, right, today you wake up and you're like, I want to write a song. Is it one of those ones where you have to plan, okay, on Tuesday evening, I'm going to start writing a song about whatever, or is it just in the moment when you feel like it? And if you're going through something at the time, and I think I was going to ask you as well, when you do listen back to your songs, because obviously you write a lot of songs from your experiences, when you listen back to those songs, does it put you back in, like, is it a form of therapy for you, like to get it all out, like how people write diaries, for example?
Yeah. So to the first part of that question, I think the times I've tried to schedule it, it doesn't work. Just me personally. Honestly, it
Yeah.
can be different for loads of people. Trying just sitting down at the keys or at the guitar and right, I'm gonna write a song about X.
Mm.
And then I try and do it, it just doesn't work. And everything that comes out, it's just a train wreck. Although maybe, you know, I'll jump onto Logic and I'll try and make a little beat or something, or try and make a little backing track to something. That usually works. Whereas just trying to drive pure inspiration out usually ends as a train wreck. So it's very in the moment.
Okay, I see.
And there's no warning. It just comes.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
you've kind of got to be ready. Like Michael Jackson was
Mm.
telling a story where he was on like a plane and he got an idea for a song in like the 80s, early
Mm.
80s, and he just had to remember it. The plane journey finished, plane landed, ran to the
Mm.
studio, and then recorded, you know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, usually nowadays it's not as bad because if I get an idea, you know, I record it into my phone and save it for later.
Yeah. So do you have a lot of artists, what they do is, like you mentioned with backing tracks and everything, they usually sometimes they make a track first and then work off of that. And some people like to write the lyrics first, then try and find a track that kind of goes with it together. What is your writing process? So when you have that feeling of, oh no, I need to write a song right now, like it's just, or if it just comes like a lyric or a track or whatever, what is the process of starting to finally having the song together?
Yeah, it's usually different every time, but recently I've found it's quite often been melody first.
Okay.
I sit down, I write a little melody, and then the lyrics come. But recently there was an idea that I started to write, which I really liked, where the lyric just popped into my head,
Oh,
and I was
amazing.
like, oh, let me just get to the piano. Oh, I had to write the lyric down, and then because I was working during the day, so I had to go do my thing, just work, and then I came back and I was finally like, oh, let's see if this works. So I had to save it for later, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's different for everyone, you know. That's just from my
Yeah.
experience. It's not that I always do it like that, but the times I found it's worked the best is usually when I have a melody first and I start writing and write the lyrics later. But then I was just speaking to someone about that the other day, and he was saying that's usually the hard way of going about it.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say
later.
that because for some
Yeah,
reason,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not a songwriter at all, and I've never seen the process in person. But for some reason, you'd think that the lyrics come first, and then you can just find a music that kind of links in with it, rather than the other way around. But you
Yeah,
find the other way around slightly easier in recent times.
recently, yeah, but then again, that could change
Yeah, it's about how you're
at
feeling in
some
the
point.
moment, right? When it comes to things like creativity.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So it's
amazing.
really really weird. But what you're saying before about trying to become inspired, forcing yourself to be inspired, and putting yourself back in the shoes of when you know you had a horrible memory or something, or just a moment
Mm.
where it inspired you. I always try, no matter if I have an experience, I always try to you know, learn from that feeling but kind of get rid of it straight away. But I always try and keep about 5% of how I was feeling, you know, just like
Okay.
5% of that pain. So then if I ever want to write about it, I can just, you know, come back and take
Oh, I
it.
see. So do you
And
find
then
yourself wondering, how does that like affect you day to day though? Because if you're kind of holding on to something, I don't know.
I do also find it quite it's actually I've never this has almost become therapy, hasn't it? It's also good because then it just, as general, just day-to-day stuff, it just reminds me better not do that again.
Right, I see. Okay.
But then when it comes to writing the song, I'm like, okay,
Mm,
let's take that feeling and then put it into a song. I always try and take the positives. I'm always trying to be a glass half full
that's
kind of
good.
guy.
That's
But you
good.
know,
I was also going to ask you, like you said, it comes in the moment, doesn't really matter, where you are at the time. Like you said, you could be like on the bus and a lyric might pop in, you might want to quickly write it down on your phone. I know that Michael Jackson in his back garden in Neverland, well, garden, I say like acres of land.
Yeah,
He had this one tree, and I think on that tree he wrote black or white, heal the
he
world
did,
or
didn't he?
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Human
So
Nature or something, or what
human
was it?
nature, human nature is one of my
No, no, it wasn't It was Oh yeah, it's escaped my mind. But yeah, he's written a lot.
I'm trying to think as well. Was it he
His
wrote a
writing
lot of songs.
career.
I know definitely Black or White was one of them. I can't remember the
Yeah, yeah.
exact songs, but it was like all of them basically. But a lot of them he wrote on that tree, and he would just kind of just sit in the tree, and then songs would kind of come to him. So I was gonna say, has
Mhm.
there been a kind of common denominator
I
in
haven't got a
where?
tree, if that's what you're
Yeah,
asking.
no, not a tree. But
I
like if
wish I
there's like a
did.
if there's like a location where has been, the majority of your ideas have come from, or is it literally just random? Like you could be anywhere.
Yeah, well, usually in my house.
Okay.
Usually, just like I haven't really tried to write anything anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe usually it really does help when there's an instrument there. So I suppose anywhere there's an instrument, yeah. But
Mm,
I mean, sometimes I've written stuff in like practice rooms or rehearsal rooms
yeah.
or other people's houses if they have a piano there. Quite often, um, if I need some time to kill, I'm like, oh, do you mind if I just play the piano? They're like, yeah, go for
Mm.
it. I play, and then something will. I'm not saying it'll be good, but I'll usually try and write something.
Amazing. That's so nice. Planning, like, do you plan ahead your albums and plan ahead things like
Oh,
that?
my
Because it's
releases.
just,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I do plan ahead releases. Yeah, all the time. I try and think of what I can release because I love releasing stuff.
yes,
I
of
do. I
course.
love letting people hear that like this is what I do.
Yeah,
They don't have to like it, but just as long as, and then there's sort of like almost like a back catalog. Like, have you got any stuff to listen to? I'm like, oh yeah,
of
just
course.
get
Yeah.
on my Spotify, and then they can see all this stuff that's come out. Almost in a way that if I died, this is what's there to represent me.
Oh, that's
I mean, I
lovely.
don't think about that quite
No, of
often.
course, please not touch wood. My God. My
Like,
God.
what if I died?
No, no, we're not.
I
No, we're not
don't.
talking about bad things on this podcast. All right, no.
Yeah, but it just if that were to happen, that's kind of I always try and release stuff I'm proud of as well. There was a bit of a break between releasing Drive Me Home and Queen in Disguise, and that was like
Yeah.
during the summer. I was scheduled to have another release in there, but I just needed the break. By the end of second year, it was really, really hard. I got the opportunity to play my original music with a whole live orchestra, the RNCM session orchestra.
Yes, you did that in
Uh,
June, didn't you? June
yeah, I did. Yeah,
2022. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I invited you to. No, I'm
I did.
kidding.
I know. I couldn't make. What was the reason I couldn't make it? There was. Oh, I already
I,
had plans or something. I can't remember.
yeah, it would have been legitimate.
Oh,
It would have been legit.
the next time.
Oh, you'll know. You'll be the first to know. Don't worry. Don't
Okay,
worry.
good. Yeah.
But yeah, so I had that, amazing opportunity, and it was the coolest thing to play. I mean, to play, original music that I've been working on for so long, finally to have it pay off and play with an orchestra.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, all the other acts and artists that did apply for it. They're all amazing too. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I got it with three other insane artists was the craziest thing. After the kind of the high of that, I think there was a bit of a crash during summer, and I just needed a break. Not to mention all the
Okay, I
assessments as
see.
well.
Oh yes,
Ugh.
of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just needed to do nothing over that summer and just sit
Mm.
down and just plug myself in and recharge. And that's
Okay,
exactly
good.
what I did. Yeah, I remember I wanted to come into third year being like, oh, I really want to do this.
Mm.
And have the enthusiasm, as opposed to, oh, I'm still too tired, I cannot do this.
Or I have to do this, like a little
Yes, I have to do it.
dragon.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because it's a big weight on your mind. It is, surprisingly, and I'm not sure a lot of people truly understand. Uh,
Mm.
I mean, I realized also the only person putting the pressure on me was me. No
Mm.
one was like, you have to release these singles. Gun to my head. I was just like, I wanna do it for me.
No, of course.
And so I realized, and it was hard for me at the time to not release that single over summer.
Yeah.
But I had to, and I still haven't released it. So I've
Yeah.
still got another one out there. Um, but yeah, I'm really happy I did take that break, and I think it's something that all musicians and just creative, not even just creative people, I just think everyone needs a break.
Yeah, because otherwise it also sucks the passion out of it. You
Yeah,
see it as like
100%.
something you have to do rather than something you really want to do, and
Yeah, and that's something I thought I'd never have, but
Mm.
I did.
Was that a
Especially after
writer's
such a.
block, like you mentioned earlier, or was it more of just you just needed?
I think I just needed a
Yeah.
proper break. I took weeks out of writing, playing, singing. I did have one gig which I had to prepare for, but that was just like covers and stuff,
Yeah.
and just because I needed a bit of money. But but you know, I'm really happy I just took that time off, which I think most people do, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize. You know, I can preach, I can be like, oh, yeah, everyone needs to take a break, and everyone's like, yeah, we know, thanks, we don't need you.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, really? You know, so I'm glad I figured that out, even if it wasn't the hard way.
Mm,
In fact, I'm almost happy I found out in the hard way because that really hammers the lesson in.
yeah.
You know, but you know, we're here now, and I remember
Yes. You're
by the
back.
time I know, yeah, exactly. And you know, when the time for Queen in Disguise to come out, I was like, I was like, this feels like the right thing to do because I've been
Yeah.
wanting to do it for well over a year.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had this plan to release this many singles over the whole of 2022 about a year ago.
Really?
So yeah,
Oh wow.
it finally happened. So creatively,
Yeah.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
That's
will be
good.
for a little bit now, and but honestly, give it a couple months, and I'll be like, I have to release something. um, but yeah, and I don't want to say that performance tipped me off the edge back at summer, but it kind of put things into perspective a little bit that you know you can work and work and work towards something, and then it finally arrive, and then you
Yeah.
realize you might push yourself a bit too far.
So you're talking about what we were talking about before recording, where you mentioned about the struggles after coming off stage. So obviously there's stage fright a little bit, or like, the
Yeah,
hype or
yeah,
adrenaline of coming on stage, but you're talking about even after the performance. It's not
yeah,
like,
totally.
so you didn't have like that relief of like, oh my God, I've done it now I can chill.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really, really
Oh, I
weird.
see.
It's something I've never had before. But
Yeah.
then again, another one of those things I've realized quite a few performers actually have had it. It's just not
Okay.
spoken about as much. Everyone goes on about the feeling you get before
Mm.
going on stage because everyone gets that. And I've never particularly been had stage fright. I mean, obviously I've gotten a bit nervous beforehand, but never enough to be like, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm
Mm.
leaving. I've always been like, it's always been like, oh, these types of nerves almost feel good, you know?
Okay, it's
Uh,
like more adrenaline.
yeah, literally. And so I had that before going on, my heart going at an insane faster than
Yeah.
it's ever been, you know, because 3 months had gone into this show. 3 months of planning went into the
Yeah.
show. I got onto the stage and everything was fine. And I mean, these are big songs to sing. Like Sunday Night is actually a really hard song for me to sing. I don't know why I wrote such a difficult song for me to sing, but I was like, and I didn't eat much beforehand as well.
Oh,
So
was that nerves or the adrenaline kind of thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're basically nerves and adrenaline that stopped me from eating. When
Bless you.
really, I should have eaten.
Yeah.
Um, because I swear I was on stage and I was like, God, wouldn't it be weird if I fainted right now? Because I
Oh
swear when I
no.
sang some of the high notes, I was like, woo, I'm
Oh
getting a bit lightheaded.
no.
But then it was absolutely fine. Honestly, the show went as well as it could have done, and
Yeah.
my band were tight. Honestly, they've never played so good. They were amazing. The orchestra were wonderful. The audience was amazing. I brought
Yeah.
loads of people. It was the most amazing night. But then yeah, as soon as I stepped off stage, um, that feeling just didn't go.
I
Not the good
see.
kind of adrenaline. It was just all that was left over. There was that chemical warfare inside of me. I was like, it just didn't leave for a good 3 or 4 hours.
Oh
And
really?
I was first on in the night, so I had to get through the rest of this performance. You know, I was watching all the other acts, and then talking to everyone afterwards, and you you walking out
Yeah.
to a sea of people, all of them
Yeah.
wanting to come over to you, being like, you know, touching you, being like, hey, you did so well,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
really wanted that because I want to get into this profession of a singer
Of course.
songwriter. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, so first thing I was like, oh my God, this is great, but then I was having such a panic. I was basically having a panic attack.
Mm.
Not basically, I was having a panic attack.
Mm.
But but with all these people around me and stuff, and as much as I was really appreciative of them coming and watching the gig and saying, you know, well done, and saying how
Mm.
I was, you know, I performed well, it was still really hard to be around that at that time. So I had to
I
just leave, really.
see.
And I felt really bad because so many people came to see me. You know, my family had traveled and everything. But I
Mm.
just had to remove myself from that situation because I just couldn't deal with it just
I
then. But then I've
see.
realized quite a few performers have had it.
Okay.
I was talking to someone the other day who told me that they knew that their front man was used to be sick every time they got off stage.
Oh
And I
wow.
think the fear of having those feelings when you come off stage, it isn't talked about as much as
Yeah,
this feeling
I'd never even heard
going
of
off
that until
stage.
you mentioned it.
I know, yeah, it's weird. It's not nice. But it hasn't been. I've done gigs since, and I haven't had anything like that
So
happen since.
afterwards, how do you feel now when you perform?
Still, everyone gets
Afterwards.
those nerves. Yeah, everyone gets those nerves beforehand, but afterwards, it's been fine, to be honest. So who knows? Who maybe that's just a
Yeah.
little anomaly. No, I won't try and make anything bigger.
I was gonna ask though, I know you don't want to like focus on that, but like that time, you said that it wasn't going for about 3 or 4 hours. After that 4 hour mark, how are you feeling?
Better, but still not. Do you know what? It took me about the rest of summer
Oh,
to kind of
really?
to really kind of settle down that. I suppose you could
Mm,
kind of just call it what it is, and
yeah.
anxiety. But and who knows where it came from. That I think the whole performance anxiety. I think because that's maybe
Yeah.
what it was
But it's
at
nice so
that
that
day.
now, after what has it been like 6 months, that you can see that it was such a hit and everything went so well. The band were amazing, the crowd were amazing, your family came down. So it's nice that you can see that now.
Yeah, 100%,
But maybe you couldn't
100%.
see it at the time. But I guess things take time with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I no, I guess I think you're right about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I really enjoyed it. Playing like we were talking earlier about my track Mika, which I would have
Mhm.
written about 4 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
But to have that with an orchestra and a string section and even a horn section and even
Yeah.
a percussionist doing stuff on that,
Every instrument.
I know I was like, this is utterly insane.
Yeah.
So and it was recorded. Both the stems, the whole multi-track was recorded. So I'm gonna have that mixed. And there were videos taken.
Amazing.
And so I'm hopefully gonna have that released. I'm gonna have it mixed and have it released sometime, maybe spring next year, which
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to.
Amazing.
So yeah, so all good stuff, all good stuff. We
Yeah.
take these lessons and
Of course.
we just roll with it. We
Yeah.
learn from.
Pick yourself back up
Yeah,
always.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%, yeah. But not being afraid to give us that time to just
Oh,
chill.
yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Time to reflect on it and kind of, deal with yeah, anyway. But
Mhm.
I forgot to ask this earlier, but when we were talking about the songwriting thing, how do you know when an album is done? So is there a
Yeah.
certain number of songs you want? Like it's like as soon as I've got like 14 songs, that's when I want to release it? Or is it like you said when we were talking about the songwriting storytelling thing? Is it when it comes to the end of the story? Or how do you know when an album's done?
Well, usually the way they tell you to go about writing an album or an EP is to start with a bunch of songs and then narrow it down to the best of those songs and then
Right, I see.
release that. I'm doing it a slightly different way because I'm right now trying to write for an EP.
Mm.
But I'm going about that because the track that I didn't get around to releasing in 2022, I'm just gonna have that for an EP now.
Right, I see.
So I suppose, yeah, you just write a bunch of songs and then you cherry pick the best ones and you
Mm,
think work well together and then you release that as a body of work.
I
So I can't
see.
really speak for an album personally for an album per se, but that's kind of the way people tell you to go about doing it. So you had like 100 songs, now that down to the 50 of those best ones, and
Mm,
then 20 of those best ones, and
mm.
then 10 to 15, and
And
then
then
there's
what
your
happens to the rest of the songs that don't
well,
make it on the album?
some of them could be bonus tracks. They could
Okay.
release some of them in like 50 years as like a bootleg thing.
Right. Okay.
Or then take them, make them better, have them on the next album. I suppose you can literally, or you can just
I
chuck them. You can do anything.
see.
Prince had a vault, like a physical vault that was about the size of a room
Oh,
that
amazing.
had all of his unreleased tracks in. Back when it was,
Amazing.
physical
Yeah.
copies. Um,
Amazing.
Now you just have like big old files and hard drives and stuff. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he had a massive vault, physical vault with all these tapes and
That is amazing.
whatnot with just unreleased material.
Wow. Sorry, one
Yeah.
more question as well I was gonna ask is
Oh, go for it.
I'm gonna edit this back into that section, but you were talking about image earlier and your brand.
Mhm.
How, as an artist, do you find what that brand is, or is it one of those ones where, it kind of falls into place within? So I know, like, for example, with Michael Jackson, he had a bad era and then the dangerous era, like different,
Yeah, yeah, and
looks and
then like the
brands.
weekend with his
Yeah, yeah,
after
yeah.
hours and then Dawn FM and
Exactly.
stuff.
How do you find that brand?
I mean, it's still really early on in my artist career, so I'm still trying to find and define my brand. Maybe my first brand as well, because like these other artists that we mentioned, you know, I might then, oh, I would really love to change that and make it into something else. So I think part of me wants to say that has to be genuine, but I don't think that's necessarily 100% true, because you've got people like Lana Del Rey who started off as something completely different. She started off as being genuine, realized that didn't work, so killed off that version of herself, and then became Lana Del Rey. And loads of, literally, Katy Perry did it. Bruno Mars would have done it. All these acts, you know, the majority of them probably would have done something similar to that. I'm hoping that I don't have to kill off this version of Nadeem so I can then find another one.
I like
that
your
works.
brand now. I like the look. I really do.
Well, thanks. You know, just to.
So I was like, yeah, like, so where did that inspo come from? Is it just like what you were feeling, like you said?
Oh, I don't know. Are you talking like the shirts and stuff? And
yeah,
like,
just like anything, like, yeah, that kind of like the shirts, vibes and stuff.
I just love wearing suits.
So this is like your genuine era.
Oh, that is me. I just love wearing suits
yeah.
and stuff. I think I even then, when I was like, people have told me stories of when I used to be like before year one. I don't even, like, when I lived in New Zealand. I because we moved to New Zealand when I was really, really young, probably somewhere between the ages of 3 and 6. Apparently, I just rock up to school in like a suit or something.
Oh, amazing! Look at you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember
one.
I mean, yeah, I can't remember, but but apparently I did. And so yeah, I love all that kind of smart shit. I do, like braces and
I love braces. I used to have like a braces and bow tie era, but the thing is, I would wear, like, it just wouldn't go together though. Like, it would be like fluorescent pink and stuff.
Oh, amazing! Oh, send me some photographic evidence of that.
No, I actually can't. Do you listen to Little Mix, or do you know about Little Mix?
I know a little bit.
So, like, I remember Jade Thirlwell, she had like an era where she'd wear bow ties and braces all the time, and I just used to copy her. And now it's so funny because all those fans have grown up now, and they all like hate her for it. She's like, guys, like, do you know what? I had to do what I had to do. Like, I managed to influence you into, like, it's quite funny. But
exactly. Yeah.
Because everyone, like, even Little Mix, they started off with their own kind of style, and now they've grown up, and, you know, it changes over time, I guess, your image and brand. But and totally. Also I was going to ask, obviously we talked about how you've been on BBC Introducing, and you mentioned earlier that you'd been on radio shows and stuff. What radio shows have you been on, and how did that come about? Like, did they message you? Did you reach out to them?
I've had a couple reach out to me, but but that doesn't really happen all too much as a artist beginning anyway, because you know, not many people know you. But I've had a couple, more like local radio stations. So all starting singer-songwriters will all try and go for BBC Introducing. And that's actually quite a cool platform, to be fair, because you just upload your stuff, write a little biography, and then send it off. And see, you know, most times for me they've played my stuff twice. They played Mika back in 2020, and I think that was radio heaven, because it was only 2 minutes and 54, and you know, no swearing, nothing like that, and it was just a cute little ballad. And then more recently they played Queen in Disguise, which I was really happy about, because I thought, but then again, sometimes you think a song would be great on the radio, but then they don't want it at all. Like Sunday Night, I thought would be great for the radio. Drive Me Home, I thought would be great for the radio, but they didn't play the song. And that's just BBC Introducing. I mean, there's plenty of other radio stations out there, but you know, I suppose they just have to work. You know, they've only got 2 hours in a week for that local radio, for that local area. In my case, being Newcastle. And so, you know, they've only got 2 hours, and they've all got all these submissions, so they just have to be so selective. But I'm glad that they took Queen in Disguise, because that's 4 minutes. That's a fairly long tune, but I'm glad they took it, you know, just because I think so many more people just need to have that sitar sound. I think it's just such a cool sound.
So nice.
And
very underrated. Like, you don't hear it often.
I think the sitar is one of the nicest sound. I'm really surprised it's not used more. And so when I found it, I was kind of like, ooh, little gold mine.
I'm gonna use this.
yeah, literally. Because I mean, obviously they have a lot of people use that in a pop context. You know, starting from like the Beatles and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, and they did it really, really well. They did it really nicely and were really authentic to the instrument.
Yeah.
Especially in their tunes like Within You Without You and stuff like that. I don't know if you know the tune, but really using it really well. And I don't think I used it authentically. I mean, I used it to sound nice, but I don't think there'll probably be some sitar player out there who, if they listen to the song, they'll be like, that is disgusting.
What are you doing with my instrument?
Yeah, that is not how you play. And that's kind of what stopped me from taking it further for a little while. Because on the one hand, I was like, this is like the best sound I've ever come up with so far. This is like, I love this so much. But then the other part of me was like, you can't do that. That's not how you don't know how to play a sitar. You're just using a sound. I was like, I was massively conflicted. It was my sister who gave me the encouragement, but also what are you doing, you stupid idiot? Just really make the thing, I was like, okay. So I'm really, really happy that I did do it and I stuck at it. Because it's definitely something I want to get into more. And there's another track that I've got that I'm really excited about, or that I'm making that I'm really excited about, which again uses the sitar and stuff like that.
Oh, amazing!
I just think it's such a cool sound. I'm surprised.
I'm
surprised not many
13 strings. Mad.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, if you gave one in front of me, I would just not. I mean, I've watched videos on the thing, but I still wouldn't really know where to begin. But it's something I do want to learn.
Yeah. Amazing. How many chords does it have? Or I'm sorry, what's it called? Frets? God, I literally used to play guitar.
Oh man, I don't know, but it's got like a fair few, and they can switch it to like major, then they switch it to minor.
Crazy, isn't it?
And then
especially because
you're
a guitarist.
Well, yeah,
going from 6 strings to like double and a bit.
Yeah, and then like and it's a totally different modal system, so a totally different approach to thinking about playing it, not even about playing.
Basically, completely different to guitar. Even though it looks slightly similar.
Yeah,
well, not really.
Just kidding. It does. It's just one of those string instruments that you play that way. I just think it looks really cool when you play it as well,
isn't it? You have to sit down like cross-legged to be able to really support it. I think.
Yeah, and and the strings, when you bend it, you can get 5 different notes out of bending it, whereas
no way
you can only really get like 2 at a push.
So
not saying I hate the guitar. Obviously I love the guitar. It's just
but
totally
but sitar appreciation is what we're doing, do you know?
Yeah, sitar appreciation, a totally different world. And when I put that solo in the song, because I don't think I've had a song with like a solo section before, but I just thought this is like sacrilege to any sitar player right now. They are probably quaking at this, but I just thought I had to do it anyway, just because I thought it sounded so good.
Yeah, of course.
And then obviously with my sister's vocals, that just I
was literally going to mention, like, speaking of Queen in Disguise, which we've mentioned quite a few times now, that your sister's on that song.
Yeah,
and you performed that with her at the RNCM session orchestra.
Yeah.
If I'm right in saying, that is the first song that your sister is actually on, Queen in Disguise.
She does actually backing vocals on Drive Me Home as well.
Oh wow,
really soft, wonderful backing vocals.
Amazing.
That again bring that song to life, because she's got a great voice. She really does. I'm not really like I wasn't a trained singer, whereas she was. I just I even auditioned to be at the RNCM as a vocalist, but I didn't get it, which is not that it stopped me, but
good.
But I managed to get in as a keys player. But so either way, I didn't stop singing. I still wrote and recorded songs for myself. But to be able to do that with my sister is really what can I say? It's actually really fun just making the tracks. Honestly, we spend more time laughing than actually making.
That's so lovely.
Recording the song, But Queen in Disguise, I'm really proud of. And when she comes in with her vocals, and then we do the harmonies together.
What was it like performing live with her, like having your sister on stage? Which I think you put an Instagram post up a couple of months ago, if I'm right, where it was just an appreciation post for your sister and how much of a big support she is in your life and your creativity and everything like that. So what was it like actually having her on stage with you doing what you love together? What was that like?
She stole the show.
To be fair, she was amazing. No, but it was so emotional the way you introduced her and brought her, like you could feel, you know, like it. I just couldn't stop smiling when I was watching it last night.
Yeah. No,
So
honestly, you know,
lovely.
it really calmed me down having her there because she was there for rehearsals, so she was there
Mm,
like the whole week. In fact, maybe even over. And just having her there during that time really calmed me down.
amazing.
And she was, you know, because the whole week was just filled with panic about please let this go. Because I've been thinking about it, thinking of the scenario, different scenarios that could happen for the past 3 months, probably a bit more.
Mm.
And so to have her there at that time was just what I needed. And as soon as I found out I got the gig, I gave her a call and was like, you have to come and do this too. Like I'm not
Oh,
gonna sing that song by myself. You know?
no, that's so lovely. Yeah, of course she's on
So
the song. Like, of course.
yeah. So well, I hope she enjoyed it too. I think she did.
Of course
I
she
think she
did.
did. And then she brought, some of her friends. And then we just had the family together anyway. So
Amazing.
yeah. So yeah. And then introducing her was also pretty nice. So because I told a
Mm.
couple of people she was coming on, but she was kind of like a surprise guest, almost like
Yeah.
when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire appeared in Spider-Man: No Way Home. It
Hmm.
was yeah, it was just one of those moments. It wasn't as big as that, obviously, but it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was. It was so lovely. So, I mean, to kind of wrap up, what are your plans for the future? What can we expect from you? What are you maybe currently working on? And when will we see this next move of you?
Yeah, so I'm working on the live EP of the session orchestra, which I'm really looking forward to having out there, and I do want that out maybe April May time.
To
So I'm
springtime, yeah.
really yeah I'm really looking forward to that, and that'll be well, I shouldn't say how many tracks I
Oh,
should
no,
yeah
no, 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 no.
I'll keep it
Yeah,
up and
keep it little,
yeah keep it
keep
up
us
in the air. Not
guessing.
that anyone really cares, but
No, of course, I do, for sure.
thank you, Green. That does mean the world. That does mean the world. Um, but yeah, so I've got that, and then I'm just gonna keep writing, keep recording, and I think I really want to come out with another body of work, like an EP, by the end
Amazing.
of 2023.
Amazing. That would be
Because
great. So, like this time next year, basically, we can expect that.
yeah, well, a little bit less, about 10, 11 months. Yeah,
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 yeah. That's the plan. And
amazing.
now that I've said it publicly, I want to actually stick to that plan.
It will happen.
Because another thing that musicians and creatives need is a deadline. That's like the best thing for them. So because other than that, without any confinement to your
Mm.
ideas, you'll never come up with anything. So to have that deadline there.
Thank you so much for coming on to Been There Done Chat. It's been such a pleasure. You have got incredible talent, and I really assure everyone. I'll link all your stuff in the description. Don't worry. Please, everyone, check it all out and actually look at the lyrics that you've written, because I think when it comes to music, people just kind of, they just listen. If you actually deep the lyrics and stuff, you can just see the talent and creativity. It's
Oh, thank you so
amazing.
much. Yeah, I do appreciate that, Karima. And thank you so much for having me on. I
Thanks
know
for
we've been
being
talking about
on.
this for,
I
I
know, I'm
think,
so sorry it's
maybe
been
a year
such a
now,
long time.
but we're here now. We're here
Yes,
now.
of course. And even though I'm not a songwriter or a musician any sort, I feel very inspired.
Oh my God, thank you
Very
so much.
inspired.
You're just too kind. And maybe the
No,
general
it's
public
been
is
so
like,
amazing seeing the creativity and like the behind the scenes of, songwriting, because people just see the song. They don't think about everything that goes into all the production, all the, the lyrics, the mind blocks, all of that stuff. Sorry, writer's
Mhm.
block and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's very tricky, but we move just like you say,
Yes. Before I end this episode, I just want to play a little snippet of your live performance at the RNCM session orchestra that we're talking about with your latest single, Queen in Disguise with Your Sister, because I think that would be quite a nice way to end this.
Yeah, been there, done chat exclusive. But this is probably my most ambitious song, just with the whole kind of different genre fusion thing. So I hope you enjoy it. Share it if you like it. Keep listening, keep streaming, add it to those playlists, because that's another thing that just helps the algorithm devil
Yes,
thing.
of course.
Yeah, I'm Nadeem. Thank you so much for having me, Garima.
Thank you so much for being on. And to everyone listening, I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.
I don't know why I pushed you away. Letting you go was my biggest mistake. Biggest mistake. Skies
you so much.